We're doing the show early today. Breaking news right off the top as Ken Rosenthal gives us more here. 3 years, $126 million for what everyone expected. Bichette signing with the Mets to play third base. No deferrals, opt-outs after years 1 and 2. Also, the deal includes a $5 million opt-out bonus. That means in one season, Bichette can make $47 million to play a position that he's never played before for the Mets. The ultimate pivot after they lose out on Kyle Tucker. And Ken pointed out maybe they trade Brett Baty, or there's been some things about him potentially being a super utility or maybe playing more first base as they signed Polanco, but he's going to do a lot of DH. Anyway, Scott Braun, Erik Kratz, Trevor May. We're going to talk to Ken a little bit later, among others, but let's dive right in. Trevor, your former team, the Mets, does not like to wait long when they lose. That's Steve Cohen, richest owner in sports, going, I will place my money here.
Yeah, we saw it happen a little bit with the Red Sox the other day with Ranger Suarez too. Like, they have someone's waiting in the wings usually, and it gives them an opportunity to either up the deal if they need to, or just like pull the trigger the next day. So we've seen it happen a couple times very recently. Yeah, it surprised me a little bit. I thought the Phillies were the best fit. Honestly, that was I put all my chips in on that one. But you know what? We are wrong. I've been doing this for 2 years now, wrong pretty much every single time. So big deal. It's another one of those kind of like bridge deals. We're seeing them a lot more. It's very interesting with the opt-outs after each year, really high AAVs, but shorter time periods. It's going to be interesting to see. We've seen him play second for the first time in the World Series, and that seemed to work out. But now third base seems like now something he's got to learn as well. I don't know if it translates as well over there, but the Mets want their guy. They mostly get their guy.
That sounded like a vote of confidence. I want to see what Giraffe Neck Mark has to say about that. Mostly got their guy. They got rid of a couple other guys. Is this a needle mover? Absolutely. Does this fit in the parameters of what the Mets want to do? What I think David Stearns wants to do with Uncle Stevie's money, going, hey, spend this money. Like, let's go get somebody. They went and got the best guy available for what their need is. Does this preclude them? Does this not allow them to go get Cody Bellinger? Totally other topic, but we'll see. Bo playing third base, to me, is that value? Is his first step quickness where they're going to unlock some value? Is this just a best player available, we'll find a spot? Is this also a prequel to what they're going to be doing with a Brett Baty? We always talk about, hey, we're going to keep all this talent around. The reason they lost last year, the reason they had the season they didn't make the playoffs, was not because of third base, was not because of Pete Alonso at first base. It's because they couldn't pitch. Does this move enable them to find that pitcher that will put them over to put them in the playoffs and then see what happens from there? But to me, Bichette on this contract for $47 million, coming off a very good platform year, the fact that he's getting $2 more million than what Alex Bregman got last year, and Alex Bregman almost has twice the career WAR in his career, is interesting. And to me, it's a pivot that not getting Tucker shows that the Mets a little desperate. I mean, maybe that's a bad word to say, but a little desperate.
Desperate's okay. Desperate's usually good for fan bases. They want desperate. And it's funny how the Mets were like run prevention, defense, Bo out of position at third, Jorge Polanco out of position potentially at first base. But let's get the inside scoop right now. Wow, it's the winter meetings this week. Who knew? Ken Rosenthal, FT Senior Insider, with us right now. Your reaction to Bichette landing with the Mets and the fit?
I was a little bit of surprised for sure. I think we all were, but I understand what the Mets are doing. And certainly we saw the Red Sox pivot after they lost Bregman. They signed Ranger Suarez. The Mets pivoting here. Bichette was not someone that those of us on the outside necessarily connected to them, but they were talking to him, and they do see this as a viable thing for them, obviously. Third base, and they can bounce Beatty around, perhaps first base, maybe in the outfield as well. It is an interesting direction for a team that's been talking about defense all season long. They'll have Bichette out of position at third base. He hasn't played that position before. Jorge Polanco at first base. He hasn't played that position before. They were talking about Kyle Tucker, who has been declining in right field. And yet this is something that should really benefit them offensively. Bo Bichette is, if anything, an underrated hitter. He's one of the great hitters in the game, hits all kinds of pitching. And he's a guy, too, that along with Polanco will help restore that offense. And Marcus Semion's part of this mix, too. The offense that they've lost with Alonso and Nimmo and, of course, Jeff McNeil as well.
Ken, I just said maybe it's a desperate move by the Mets. Would you use the word desperate, or would you say, you know what, it's just the next one that we had and we had to make the move?
From what I understand, Erik, actually more of the latter, that it wasn't necessarily desperate. They were desperate to get a hitter, yes. Mm-hmm. But when they didn't get Tucker, they had been in contact with Bichette. It's not like they just called him up and said, let's go. This had been going on. And in that sense, they just reacted to the market. What has been stunning has been the turn of events the last, 18 hours or so. I don't know that people necessarily expected Tucker to go to the Dodgers, and I don't know that people ever expected Bichette to go to the Mets. I was on record, well, at least on this show, saying I thought the Phillies were the favorite for Bichette. They were, and then boom, free agency struck. And this is what happens in the open market. We often talk among ourselves at The Athletic, okay, who's in the market for this guy? Who's going to get him? And to some degree, it's folly because things change so quickly. Teams come out of nowhere. And this has been kind of an example of what we've seen over the last how many hours it's been.
You and a couple other insiders said the same thing, that Bo was, it looks like Bo's going to go to the Phillies. Was this a great ploy to get the Mets to pay extra for Bo Bichette by the Phillies?
No, absolutely not. The Phillies wanted Bo Bichette, and that was serious. Bob Nightingale's reported that they were at 7 years, $200 million. That sounds like the proper range from the Phillies for Bo Bichette. What they would want to do, they'd want the lower AAV. But at the same time, it just didn't happen for them. And they're an interesting team too right now because this was a guy that they focused on. They really wanted him. They met with him. They were enthused about it. They obviously made a big offer for him, and yet they didn't get him. So do they now keep Alec Bohm? Do they go out and re-sign JT Realmuto? All these things are in play for them. They are in play and were in play the entire offseason. The question now is, do they try to do something else and maybe just pivot from those guys entirely? It's unclear.
Ken, touching back on the Mets, EK mentioned it at the top of the hour that the hitting wasn't necessarily the issue last year for them. It was the pitching, and they haven't done much in that side of things. So moving forward, we know Framber Valdez is still out there available. Do you see the Mets having spent their money and possibly just kind of leaning on this young crop of highly touted prospects, or is there still room to grab a front-end guy like Framber and then fill in behind him?
Trevor, to me, there's no question they have to add pitching. And as you mentioned, it was the entire reason, for the most part, that they collapsed last season. They had some other issues. They did have some clubhouse dynamics that were off. The offense at times was not there, but really, this was all about starting pitching. So they know this. They know they have to do more, and I would expect maybe a trade and a free agent. I don't know that. I'm just guessing now, but clearly they are one of the teams in the market for Framber Valdez, who is the top remaining free agent. They are a team that has been in contact with the Milwaukee Brewers about Freddie Peralta. Mackenzie Gore also is available in a trade. I don't know that the Nats would do it within the division. I don't know that they should care about that, but he's out there. So there are ways they can go for pitching still, but the options are really starting to dwindle, to be perfectly honest, with Suarez going off the board.
Who is who's benefiting the least from this type of contract? We saw Tucker's, and now we saw Bo's today. The short-term massive AAVs, because these AAVs, in my opinion as a player, it's pushing the value, annual average value, way up for players. I get it, it's not as long-term, but when that number moves up, more money's going in the player's pocket while it's not guaranteed for the length. So who's benefiting the most from these short-term AAVs that are so
I would say
huge?
both parties, both sides, both the club and the player. The club, because the commitment's not that long, you're not buying the decline phase. And the player, because he's getting paid at a level that he might have gotten over a 7 or 8 year deal, but he's getting it over a shorter amount of time. And in the cases of both Tucker and Bichette, they can opt out early and go back into the market. And the next two markets in particular are not exactly deep in quality hitters. So there's a benefit both ways here. And we've heard for years, Erik, teams hate long-term deals. They hate buying into the decline phase. Well, this is the way to avoid that. You're paying more money because you're not going long-term. You're paying almost the equivalent of what you might be paying out long-term, but this is a preferred way to go. Look at the Blue Jays, for example, with Tucker. My guess is, and I've heard rumblings to this effect, that they were around 10 years and $350 million, below Vladimir Guerrero Jr. average annual value. That number would make sense. If they were higher, fine. Just for the sake of discussion here, $350 million is a lot more than $240 million. But Kyle Tucker will have every bit of opportunity to get another contract, to opt out of this one and maybe build it that way. He can get to that number in the end, and he gets the short-term benefit of the high AAVs as well. So it's definitely good for the player, and in my view, definitely good for the club.
Yeah, this is interesting that we're seeing this emerge suddenly, more so when teams have been trying to do this for a while. I think back to the Dodgers with Bryce Harper. They were offering a huge number, but Bryce went with the longer years. Ken, the one thing that I want to clarify with fans is that front offices will try and put like a win or whatever their number is, right, against how much money should be worth a win. And this actually matches that a little bit more so, right? Where a player, if he's a 6-win player or whatever, you can put that against, say, $11 million and say, hey, he's worth 66 mil. It sounds crazy, but the way to do it on a shorter term deal can get that done. If it's a longer term deal, it also helps to the team to stretch out the number for the luxury tax implications. So that's what I wanted to ask you about here. Teams like the Dodgers last night, teams like the Mets now in this case, I mean, if you do some quick math, they're essentially paying double for the player, right? It's 47. It's going to turn into about $100 million this year. And no one's feeling bad for Steve Cohen, but just emphasizing that. Do you think teams are considering that, or they're just saying, hey, I don't want to take on the long-term risk under any circumstance. I will take this massive short-term hit?
Teams are obviously making that decision, these big market teams that are able to cut these kinds of deals. And as we get into the collective bargaining negotiations, and I wrote a whole column about this whole situation this morning, we're going to see obviously the fight about, one, a salary cap, which the owners want, and two, if there is no salary cap, then certainly a different conversation about the luxury tax thresholds, the penalties, how they need to be adjusted. So it seems to me teams will pay what they can afford, right? And the Mets and Dodgers clearly feel they can afford this. I'm sure other teams are rather bothered by that. But they are, again, playing within the current rules, obviously. And if they change the CBA, whether it's through a cap or some other restrictive nature, then these teams will have to adjust. I'm sure it would be grandfathered in. It wouldn't happen right away, at least as far as a cap is concerned. But with luxury tax thresholds and penalties, they are adjusted every CBA. If that's the system that remains intact, they will be adjusted again.
Ken, I have a theory, and I like to throw theories out to you because you always have such great insight on them. What I'm noticing about these short-term deals, maybe with the exception of the opt-outs that are heavily favored in the players, these deals are starting to feel very similar to another sport's max contracts. So do you think that this could be the commonality of these happening more often with the really short years with the huge numbers? Do you think that's a little bit of a attempt to swing it towards the way the contracts are set up for say NBA players, where I know there's less players and it's a little bit different economics, but it does feel like this might be what deals look more like if there were a cap in play. Does that sound like something that could be happening here?
Trevor, I have not thought of that. And I've got to be honest, I am not as familiar with the cap system in the NBA and the other leagues as I probably should be. But that's because I'm covering baseball all the time and it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But whatever, no excuse. I don't know that that's the thinking. I don't expect that that would be the way front offices would be looking at it. To me, they're looking at it right now. How do we do this right now? Because we don't know if a cap system is going to be in effect at any point in the near future, even with the CBA expiring December 1st. It might turn out that the owners do not succeed in their quest for a cap, and we retain what is the framework that currently is in place. So it just seems to me teams operate with the thought of how they can best operate within the current parameters of a CBA. I can't imagine, I may be wrong about this, but I can't imagine that they'd be thinking, let's get ready for the cap system. This is going to work for us good. I don't know that that's the case at all.
One basic question for you, Ken, and this is obviously just your opinion. You don't like giving your opinions. Are the Mets better?
It depends on the question.
Are the Mets better at this point in the offseason than they were at the end of last year? Is their lineup better than it was last year? Obviously, a lot of different pieces that they've added in and pieces that they've subtracted.
All right, it's a complicated question for a couple of reasons. One, if you're looking at strictly the players involved, I do believe they're better offensively. I think this combination, Bichette, Polanco, Semien, is at least the equal of Alonso, Nimmo, and McNeil. That said, Alonso was a huge part of what they did. And while Bichette is a different kind of right-handed hitter, it's going to be interesting to see how this all evolves. And Semien is a guy who offensively has been in great decline. He's the worst of the six players, or at least has been in the last couple of years that I just mentioned. So hard to judge from that perspective, but to me, they have regained their footing offensively. Then the question becomes, okay, from a financial standpoint, do these deals make as much sense as they might have for Alonso and Nimmo and, again, McNeil? Now, Alonso is an interesting case because the Mets offered Kyle Tucker $55 million a year. They didn't or wouldn't offer Pete Alonso $31 million a year, which would have matched the Orioles offer. And some people might say, well, why is that? Now, Tucker is a better player. He's certainly a better defender, though he's not a great defender at this stage of his career. But that discrepancy, if you could have had Pete for that much less, then maybe you could have done some of these other things as well. So to the essence of your question, it seems to me that they've regained their offensive equilibrium here. The question then becomes, okay, do they do it at a proper rate? Should they have kept Alonso, who was, of course, a fan favorite? It's a complicated thing. But in terms of sheer run production, which is your question, they should be fine, in my opinion.
What about run prevention, Ken? That's the last one I want to hit with you because that was the key word that David Stearns used when talking about the team. And I think in one of your recent notes column talked about how other teams felt like they were missing something defensively. Isn't it a little bit strange how the infield is starting to formulate? You're going to have everyone out of position. If Brett Baty doesn't get traded, he's going to play some first with Polanco and Bo Bichette at third. Nobody had that on their bingo card entering the offseason.
Yes, and that is certainly a question for the Mets. And as they reshape their pitching staff, if their defense isn't much better than it was last season, then okay, you've reshaped your pitching staff, but you're still in a run prevention standpoint, not where you should be. So when I wrote about Tucker a couple of days ago, I raised the question, hey, what are you doing here when you claim that run prevention was your big thing? You're going for two $50 million corner outfielders? Well, they needed the hitter, and they certainly needed the hitter. We all knew that. They didn't get that hitter. They got another hitter who is going to play, as you mentioned, out of position. So all of these questions, Scott, are entirely fair, and we will see in 2026 whether David Stearns' play here was the right one. We're going to find out. That's the beauty of this sport. It all evolves on the field, and we get our answers there.
Yeah, it's almost like fantasy baseball fun. Hey, let's just plug this guy here, this guy there. Not even fantasy, because they don't let you do that. You have to have position flexibility. You have to say maybe video game kind of fun. So yes, I'm with you, Ken. You know what? As especially you and me, people that don't root for a particular team much, like we're just having a good time following all the chaos. So it's great. Yes, Ken, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And we'll look for the next big signing here during the real winter meetings that are happening right now virtually.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. That's Ken Rosenthal, FT Senior Insider. They did a Fair Territory episode yesterday. There's a lot of Q&A going on. We'll continue to do that today. We have a number of other guests to hit the big topics that have occurred over the last 16 hours here with both Tucker and Bichette signing. So good stuff from Ken and much more from him on Monday's edition of Fair Territory.
He's charging the mound.
Okay, so now we can link the Kyle Tucker deal and the Bo Bichette deal and talk about the entire aftermath here all in one shot. So Trevor, we did a live show late last night when Tucker signed. We haven't gotten your instant reaction to this one yet. So your thoughts on how Kyle Tucker ends up with the Dodgers and is making a boatload of money. He said no to a longer offer from the Blue Jays with more guaranteed money. He said no to a somewhat similar offer, but it seems like a little bit more money net present value with the Mets. And he chose to be, I don't want to say like sixth fiddle, but he's not going to get bothered much by the media in LA. There are a lot of other players that'll do the talking for him.
That last part right there was actually a really interesting point because as we've seen in the past with Kyle Tucker, he's a pretty laid-back guy that's not a man of many words. So that sounds probably pretty great to him. The Dodgers have won back-to-back World Series. That's going to be enticing to many players, whether or not you like it or not. I understand, but it is like so hard to win a World Series. There's 26 guys on every team. The number of players that eventually get one is low for baseball. So there's a little bit of like eye roll, and I understand fans shouldn't like that at all. I get it, but also I don't fault a guy having played myself for seeing an opportunity there as well. It is pretty crazy to think that they are replacing like a Michael Conforto with Kyle Tucker. That is a big jump in production, to say the least. And I just can't act like I was surprised. Like maybe the fact that he was willing to take a 4-year deal, even though the AAV is in the stratosphere, a guy that's still in his 20s, the way this thing has been put together forever, you go into free agency with the assumption that you're getting one shot. Like you can only conceivably guarantee one shot. And we're seeing these short-term deals with these high AAVs where guys are taking another shot. They're setting themselves up for a second chance, something that wasn't happening before. But I think that these long-term deals have soured a lot. They kind of sour every single time. This whole baking in, front-end value and then just like paying for the front years at the end. And like nobody likes that, players included. So, of course, it switches this way. So, yeah, it's probably for baseball and for the psyche of the collective fan base of every team. This is probably the worst possible thing that could happen. But I will say, he is bringing some youth in a team that was one of the oldest teams on average, especially in the lineup in the league last year. And so it was another savvy move from the Dodgers, and they're setting themselves up to make another run at this thing. And he can kind of, it's crazy to think this, but there is a level of under the radar day in and day out for him as well, which might be an ideal situation, especially with maybe some of the scrutiny that comes from being either the only team in a country or being on the Mets. So it's just perfect storm situation, not ideal for everyone else, but it just so happens to be ideal probably for Kyle Tucker.
I think it is ideal for other people. I mean, the other teams, yes, I get it. It's not ideal for fans. Actually, I rarely switch my hat, but we were talking about Bo before, and so I got to now switch my other hat so I can now be a Dodgers fan, which I've been accused of being by nobody. But my biggest thing is I think it helps the game. And people are going to say, no way, there's no chance. I think it helps the game because I've never seen in athletics, I'm talking competitive athletics, where somebody who's the best doesn't bring the best out in everybody else. So I feel like what the Dodgers are doing is they're raising the tide of what the expectation is. You want to beat the Dodgers. Had they not signed Tucker, they would have wanted to beat the Dodgers anyway. Had they not signed Tucker, there would have been still the Padres rivalry. You know, it makes it grow even more. And I guess the whole like negative publicity is good publicity. Any publicity is good publicity. But to me, I think Kyle Tucker signing there has less to do with the fact that, you know, he's a recluse, like he doesn't want to talk to people. There's stars all up and down this lineup that are going to take some of that stuff off of his plate. To me, I think he just wants to win. And we've talked the last few days about, is he a star or is he a superstar? His numbers would say he's a star. My opinion is he's a star. Scott thinks it's a superstar. There's a lot of semantics in that. How do you make a star a superstar? You take some pressure off him from the other guys. To me, I think he joins this team and becomes a superstar. I think he can have a jump in his numbers, not only because the Dodgers do a lot of really good things, but just look at the construction of the lineup there. I don't know if they could have Will Smith step up and hit fourth for them and Kyle Tucker fifth. To me, I think that enhances this lineup or Will Smith is going to do what he did last year and hit like 450 with runners in scoring position first half of the season, because you just have to figure out how to navigate this lineup, and the left on left, you know, could benefit one or the other. It's, you know, you're stealing from Peter to pay Paul and that kind of mindset. But to me, this lineup with Tucker makes Tucker better. I'm not saying it doesn't make anybody else better, but it makes Tucker better. It's another example of the Dodgers finding surplus value in a signing.
So I'm not going to act like I know everything about the NBA these days, but Kevin Durant's name was thrown out there. He's won 2 titles. He's a great, great player in the league for a long period of time. His 2 titles were with the Warriors, 2018, 2019. He joined a super team. Did Kyle Tucker not just do that? Sure, money has to be a factor in many other things. But Trevor, my question to you, does that change your perception of someone, whether you're a player or a fan at all, if you're joining the big, bad, evil empire to try and rack up a ring on your own? And also, from a financial perspective, would you rather do the deal that he just signed or the 10, 350-ish that the Blue Jays were throwing his way? Once you actually hear that and you do the math, you're like, oh, man, I do think that he can probably put together more money in his career if he just rides it out this way. That's the dream for a team like the Dodgers, because they don't have to commit long-term. And also, let's not forget about this part. Kyle Tucker hasn't lived up in Toronto, not that he wouldn't fall in love with it, but when you sign a double-digit year deal with a team, like a portion of your prime years of your life are going to be there now, right? Like that changes things. And for some guys, they might not want to commit like that.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that become more popular. I'll be honest, myself personally, I actually said this to Francisco Lindor once when I when I congratulated him on signing his 11-year deal. I was like, hey man, that's awesome. 11 years? That's a long time, man. like, you know, for me, I'd be like, you know, how am I going to feel in 11 years and how are things going to be? Probably no matter what I do and no matter how hard I try, not great physically, and probably not going to be the same guy I am now. So I think that, you know, it's a huge commitment both ways. And I think that players like an opportunity to change it up and like keep that open a little bit. And that's becoming more common. And I don't blame anyone for doing that. So sometimes, and it's honestly kind of nice to see that, though money probably is the top of the pros and cons list when you make your list as a free agent, it's not so bold and not so big and not so far away from all the other ones, which I think is a healthier place to be, just in general. And so for guys to choose to give themselves more options, choose this option and also give themselves another crack at make an adjustment living somewhere else, or maybe, you know, if it just isn't working out culture-wise, vibe-wise, because that's one thing you won't know until you get there, and you have to sign to get there. So it's like a huge commitment to like marry someone that you have you've not been dating for very long. And it is one of those situations. So to be honest, the way that the 10-year deals work from that standpoint, they are a little bit illogical in a lot of different ways. And so this becoming more common, and the higher AAV kind of softens the ability to push the market, bigger dollar numbers, right? The higher AAV kind of closes that gap a little bit too. So it solves that problem somewhat to make the other things a little bit more palatable. So we're seeing it a little bit more and more and more guys willing to do it. And, you know, I can't fault them, because that would probably where my predisposition would be as well. But I always thought of myself a little bit as an outlier there. It's kind of interesting to see that maybe I wasn't, you know, on an island as much as I thought I was.
Also, we're showing the net present value of the deal. There are deferrals for Kyle Tucker's contract if he doesn't opt out after the second year of the deal. But the net present value doesn't go down that much. $57 million per season. Some people thought it would go much lower based on how the Dodgers have done deals in the past. This wasn't a Shohei Ohtani phone call, guys. This wasn't, hey, I'm good. I'm making $100 a year off the field. I want to defer this so I don't do the California state taxes at some point. Kyle Tucker's like, give me my damn money right now. And the Dodgers had it for him. I mean, they're profiting their asses off right now by winning consistently, by selling on the marketing side with all of the Japanese talent that they have, in addition to what they're doing in the States with brand deals. They are crushing it, right? You invest in not just winning, but also, I guess, the right players to market around, and look at what's happening for them. It's all become a perfect storm. They also have drafted and developed very well. But yes, it's technically by far the highest average annual value in history. This was from last night when we didn't know what the deferrals looked like. But for Shohei, his net present value contract is around $450 million. So that brings his rate down pretty significantly, right? It's about $45 million per season. So Kyle Tucker's at 57, Kratz. He destroyed that number. He even destroyed Juan Soto's number by over $6 million per season. So on a per year basis, he is by far the highest paid player in baseball right now. Just something to think about. And obviously Bo Bichette is in the top, 5 now as well, with what could be $47 million for one season of ball. So I want to get your thoughts on that. And then also I want to get to the aftermath of teams that have missed out, right? I mean, the Mets missed out, but then they pivot in 5 seconds. The Phillies missed out. We actually saw the one report that they threw 7 years, $200 million at Bo Bichette. It was his request. That seemed to be his dream deal until the Mets missed out on Kyle Tucker, and clearly this morning said, hey, we can get you pretty close to that number in a lot less years. Are you interested? Because he's 27. So it's like, do you want to hit the free agent market again at 28, 29, 30, any of those years? Would you like to do that instead? Come off a platform year when the sport has more stability after a collective bargaining agreement gets done? And they were able to take down the Phillies. Same thing for the Blue Jays. Ken was on the money. Ken said all offseason long, Bo Bichette, not likely to be back with Toronto. He was correct. But also, we look at a Toronto team that was going after Kyle Tucker and comes up short. Fans go, hey, where are we spending that money? So what do you think about the money aftermath for all of this?
The fact that he got the most, because it's such a short-term deal, a little surprised. The fact that it's $6 million more is such a large number. It's such a staggering number that I was like a little I was a little like just hesitant to say, did we get the numbers right? Because I posed this question to you guys. What does that number look like if you want to sign Kyle Tucker to a short-term deal? Is it more than Aaron Judge? Is it more than, and then we heard the $50 million being bantered about. And I'm like, okay, like, I guess that's good. This blew it out of the water. This is why teams don't like free agency, because this is an opportunity. They're in a free market, and he was able to negotiate with 2 teams that are willing to go the same realm, the same range, and to an extent with Bo too. They're going in the same range of, hey, you know what? 50, 55, 56, 56, 60. Okay, it's going to be 57. Final answer. This is it. great. I wanted to go to the Dodgers anyway. I didn't want to go to the Mets. Obviously, deferrals and opt-outs and all that stuff sways into it, but the money in general is a crazy thing to me. And I feel like Ken, the question I posed to Ken before was, who is it better for? Is it better for Major League Baseball or is it better for the players? And Kyle Tucker moved that needle a long way for the players. What happens in the next CBA? I don't know. What these guys get back in the free agent market, Chapman, Snell, Bregman now. All these guys have done this and been successful, and now the needle moved even more. Even Bo Bichette or Alex Bregman to now Bo Bichette, $2 million more. That's $2 million for the players going forward. Going forward, if you want to do a short-term deal and you have better numbers than Kyle Tucker, who has no MVPs, whose sprint speed is declining, who is not in, he wasn't in the best health the last 2 years. Whether you want to argue that or not, he could have had an MVP season the year he was out for over half the year. I get that. But the number has gone up, and I think that's only good for the players. So I think this number, I couldn't believe he beat out the average annual value, actual today's value of it, by $6 million. That is a large, large number. $2 million is a large number for Bo Bichette to beat out Bregman just from last year. So the market is moving, and after this next CBA, a lot of these TV deals are going to be worked out too. So there's going to be a little bit more money certainty flushed in the market.
Yeah. You know what's funny too is the recent call out, Trevor, by Commissioner Manfred for a signing deadline. So
Correct.
It's January 16th. So on the 15th and 16th, baseball has absolutely stolen the headlines. We have a college football championship coming up on Monday. We're in the thick of the NFL playoffs. NBA and NHL is going on. And the most popular storylines at the top of the website that you follow, whatever it is, right, has Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers. Now it's Bo Bichette to the Mets. So are you sure about that? Do you really want to have a signing deadline where then we're going to do absolutely nothing for 2 months? I know it gets frustrating, but also we don't get these deals until this time. These deals were not on the table up until around now. And then all of a sudden everything happens, right? The Mets weren't in on Bo Bichette. I mean, sure. Did they have conversations like Ken mentioned? Sure. But did we think they were seriously in for Bo Bichette? No. Steve Cohen just woke up this morning and said, fuck it, let's go.
He did. I think Kratz hit on a really interesting point with the revenue certainty. Like, as that becomes more certain, this stuff starts to work itself out a little bit earlier. Like, it's the uncertainty that is dragging these things out, and it feels normal that it takes forever for anything to happen in free agency right now, because every year there's some weird extenuating circumstance. Like, there was a lockout, or there's COVID, or we're trying to recoup money from the last year, or it was the year after COVID. Like, there's been something for like 7 straight years. And once this starts to kind of slow down, and now we have the pending CBA being negotiated again. So at some point it will slow down. And I think that solves itself a little bit as well. Also, I think there's a really interesting trend here, because when negotiations happen, basically both parties, they agree on a focus, like what is going to move the needle the most. Sometimes it's even in terms of just within money. Sometimes it's length, sometimes it's total, sometimes it's per year, right? And I'm noticing, and I think that you guys are too, is that per year is where the focus is hyper-focused. We're talking about that a lot. The AAV is coming up a lot, and that's the number that's getting pushed. All of these things have different thresholds for pushing them forward to expand the market, and we are moving away from total money and years and to the AAV, which leads me, even with the Skubal thing and the conversation around his arbitration case pending. That's also about how much he's going to make in 1 year and trying to push that forward. So the focus on both sides, I think the players and the league, and they don't agree on a lot, but I think they both see a lot of value. Like, that's worth looking at, is solve some problems if we just focus on the AAV, which then naturally shortens the length of the contract. it gives players another opportunity to do it, gives them flexibility to opt out year after year, change their mind in a year, and teams are not on the hook for as much total money. Like, that's kind of a win-win. It's weird to think about, but it kind of is. So we're seeing that shift happening, and we're also seeing possibly some solidifying and some certainty in the amount of money you have. This makes like the teams being able to project, hey, here's what their salaries number isn't a huge range it could be anymore. It's a little bit easier to predict, where there's a little bit of certainty there. And that at the end of the day is what they want the salary cap for anyway. So it's almost as if, and this is an optimistic take, it's almost as if some of this focus, maybe that's a thread to pull out for both sides and say, maybe we can have something advantageous and focus on the AAV side of things and making sure that is healthy, which will then incentivize lowering these huge spends over a period of time where they don't know if on the back end if they're even going to get any production, which is scary. And people with lots of money are risk adverse. That makes a lot of sense. They're running a business. Like if that's just built in, then it might solve itself at least to a certain point. Now, obviously AAVs can get ridiculous, but there will be a ceiling where we're getting, this is too much even year after year with the amount of money we have. We're going to go way over, but we might be approaching that. But I think this is more of a positive change than a negative change, because I think it benefits. There's benefit for both sides more often with these types of deals.
Wait, a benefit for both sides, and it grows the game together. Owners make more money.
Man.
Players make more money. We have 5,200 viewers right now. Baseball is not dead. Baseball, we get to watch it. But I have one comment, and I disagree with Scott. Stevie Cohen did not wake up this morning and do that Bo Bichette deal. Stevie Cohen did not go to sleep last night because he didn't get Kyle Tucker. So he didn't wake up this morning. He was up the entire night, just like you, Scotty.
That's true, because it went down pretty late, and then he's up early with the markets. So he did not sleep. He'll take a nap after this, maybe a nap.
When the international markets close, that's when he goes to bed.
He had an option out there just in case. If the other deal didn't go through, the other one just kicked in. He just sent the email and got the thumbs up. It was done. He's like, that's how he rolls. That's how business works. Steve Cohen land.
Life is good when a team is your toy. Let me ask you guys this. Defensive alignment, because we asked Ken about it, and then we didn't get to the topic yet, but defensive alignment for the Mets. What are we doing? And if you're a pitcher, let's start with Trevor, right? You were on this team. Do you feel comfortable with what's going on out there? Dudes learning different positions. And hey, Bo Bichette looked money in limited time over at second base. So I'm not going to say he's not capable of handling third. It's just the question mark and the inexperience factor of just throwing a bunch of guys at different positions. Here's the thing. David Stearns is saying our defense wasn't good enough. And I believe that certain athletes can just play other positions. So is he challenging the system a little bit here? When guys say, I got to learn the position, it's not that easy. David Stearns is like, yeah, it is. We can plug this guy here, that guy there.
I think it depends on the guy. There's no reason to think that a 27-year-old guy who is athletic, who played the switch from shortstop. Shortstop is the hardest infield position. So it is conceivable. And I know he was the worst defensive shortstop in the league 2 years running. But there is I think there's some wisdom in thinking that it will improve. Now, how much we don't know. I'll be honest, it's not like Vientos and Beatty are amazing wizards over there. So maybe that plays in as well. If we get the same thing, but we get the bat, we can handle that, because Francisco Lindor is a Gold Glove or close to every single year. Marcus Simeon's a Gold Glove second base. I think those two guys are going to be elite up the middle. Two veteran guys that are locked in and make the right play and make all the plays they're supposed to make. And Jorge Polanco, he moves better than Pete Alonso. We'll see how the glove comes through, but he played some third base last year too. So he moves around. He goes from being a middle infielder to a corner infielder as well, which is an easier transition to make. So I think they're banking on that. I think what's going to come down to is, you got to get those four guys, and they got to be on the field, and they got to practice a lot together, because that's what it comes down to, that trust factor. And as a pitcher going into spring training, you're going to look around and be like, let's see how this goes. Like, it's just the way it is. It's just the way. You just don't know until you know. But it also, in the case of Stearns, like, for him to extrapolate and see, these transitions should be easier than maybe other situations, and it's conceivable, but it is going to take a lot of work. I mean, when we're talking about like $50 million a year, right? Like, that seems like maybe a little bit of a risk. But I mean, the bat, just him and Soto together in a lineup is a nightmare. That is a nightmare for a pitcher. And maybe that was the thing that's like, hey, this is just this opportunity presents itself. We are idiots for not taking it. And that is probably where the final domino fell right there, when they went on the right side of the fence and they went for Bo.
Before I get to my comment about Bo's defense, Trevor is a pitcher, and I know pitchers, while they're looking around like, is it going to work? They're also like, oh, if we had a better third baseman, that play would have been made. Why are we shifting? Why are we in the shift right here? That would have been a ground ball to second. You're like, well, he hit it 210 miles an hour. So, and then when it's ground ball double play into the shift, pitchers are like, knew it. Did my job. Great job. Am I right or wrong, Trevor?
No lies detected, especially relievers. Like, we're there to complain about every single thing we can possibly find. So that is definitely, like, having built-in excuses, not the worst thing in the world. We're gonna get blamed either way, so it doesn't matter. It's mostly for us.
It's like a kicker. It's like a kicker. If you miss it, that's stinking wind. But my comment about Bo's defense, I texted this morning right after Bo signed. I texted a big league shortstop that had to start shifting positions. And I said, what is tougher? The move from short to second every day, or the move from short to third? And he said, by far, third base. He said the angles are completely different. And we can't go into an entire hour-long show explaining it, but that's what third base is about. It's about those angles. So can somebody teach Bo those angles? Somebody that he respects, somebody that he has to learn that first step, and that first step is probably your only step at third base. So that's where his value is going to be. Can he go 6 feet back and 6 feet in? And if he can, to me, that's where he will increase his value. Not, ooh, he really ran far. The plays where third basemen run far to go get a ball, that's not range. Range is that first step in all four directions, front, back, left, right, and creating that angle to get yourself from 6 feet to 8 feet. And it was good insight by him, somebody that had to really make that transition. And he said third was the toughest because of the angle. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Bo. Oh yeah, and he has to hit 300 too.
Yeah, February 22nd, you can already see the headline. David Wright in camp with the Mets, working with Bo Bichette. You always see that stuff. It's so classic. Anyway, hey, everyone's watching right now. We're still going for a while to cover all of this wild 16 hours in baseball mid-January. Gotta love the headline grabbing. Subscribe to FT. Next goal, 300K subs, getting close. So would appreciate that. Baseball, the way it should be covered. Awesome guests happening throughout the day as well. And our next one is ready to go. Hey, Mike Wilner is back on the show, and I'm sure you'll get plenty from his pod this week too, Deep Left Field with Mike Wilner. Mike, it is great to have you back on the show, although maybe not the greatest time right now for Blue Jays fans. They should mostly be happy given results from last year, offseason in general, but have we reached the greedy point with the fan base that expected Kyle Tucker to also land in their lap? What's the reaction up in Canada today?
I mean, we saw the Blue Jays sort of throwing their weight.
No.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
We got a little mute situation going on. Stand by.
We'll figure it out. It happens sometimes, Mike. It's okay. It's not your fault. It's Trevor's fault.
Hey, I think we got you. Re-rack.
Can you hear me now?
We got you, Mike. What do you have for us?
Okay, awesome. I don't think it's greedy. I think the way the Blue Jays were throwing their weight around in this offseason and snapping up Dylan Cease right away, and throwing almost $40 million at a reliever, they kind of expected one of Tucker or Bichette to wind up here in Toronto, and I did too. I thought the Blue Jays were absolutely going to sign either one or the other, and to not get both or to not get either is pretty disappointing. But I don't think from a greedy sense. I think from a team building sense, it feels like they're still maybe a bat short of where you'd like them to be right now. I mean, this is a team that did lead the major leagues in batting average and on base percentage last year, but was middle of the pack in homers. And it feels like they're really counting on, if this is it, like if they don't make the move on Bellinger or make a trade and get somebody else, you're really counting on George Springer to repeat what he did last year, and now he's 36. And you're counting on a big bounce back from Anthony Santander that may or may not happen after he lost an entire year. So I would say less greedy and more, it sort of felt like this was almost inevitable, and now it hasn't happened.
Before we pivot to Bellinger and talk about the possibilities of that, which one do you think hurts more? The fact that they didn't bring Bo back, or the fact that they didn't sign Tucker when it was like, okay, like which one? Because you talked about power, because there's power with Tucker, but then you talked about the lineup and what they did last year. Bo was part of that. So which one hurts more?
I mean, Bo's hit 25 homers too, so there's power there. I was going to say 30, but I'm not sure he's gotten to 30. But there's power there, and obviously that home run he hit in Game 7 of the World Series was beyond ridiculous. When you say hurts, Bo hurts more. I've said it a few times over the course of this winter. It's not going to feel right for the Blue Jays to open camp, to take the field, whatever, without Bo Bichette. Now, he's been part of this organization for a decade. He's been part of the team since he got called up in August of 2019 in Kansas City. He got a hit in his first big league at bat and something like 12 doubles in his first 10 games or something to set a major league record. He's been an integral part of this thing and a running mate of Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s. And it's just going to be so weird. This will be the first time that Vladdy has played on a team without Bo since 2016, I believe, which is wild. For a full season. He was up a few months earlier in 2019 than Bichette. But, Bo is maybe outside of Luis Arraez the best pure hitter in the game, and he's got way more pop than Arraez too. He will grind in at bat. He'll foul off a million pitches, and then he'll just smack a double the other way. He's just so hard on pitchers and so much fun to watch. But then, Kyle Tucker is left-handed. He doesn't strike out, takes his walks, has the power, seemed like the perfect fit behind Vlad in the lineup. And so that hurts too. And I think that's what the Jays front office saw a little bit more, and they were more intent on Tucker than they were on Bo. But Bo should have been done months ago here in Toronto. He wanted to stay, but I guess either he wanted to shop his offers or the front office just didn't want to meet his price. But it should be said, they didn't want to meet Vlad's price last year either and had to be forced into it by ownership. That took until April, and they didn't have that luxury this time because Vlad wasn't a free agent and Bo was.
Was there some feelings hurt by Bo? You talked about the connection between him and Vlad. They've been together the whole time. Vlad was hearing extension talks. Bo, from all that we've heard, he was not hearing extension talks. Vlad got his extension after Bo had a down year. I mean, I think Bo would even say that. So do you think this relationship was a little severed maybe 2-3 years ago when, in my opinion, you said they should have been locked up months ago? I think Bo should have been locked up years ago.
Oh, yeah. Like, put me back in 2019, and I'm signing Bo and Vlad to, Ronald Acuna and Ozzie Albies contracts for sure. But also, if I'm doing that, I'm also signing Jordan Romano and Danny Jansen and Kevin Biggio and Alek Manoah to contracts like that, and some work and some don't. But yeah, they could have saved themselves hundreds of millions of dollars by being more proactive and by having more faith in their players, for sure. As far as the more recent extension talks. I don't think, I mean, if it rubbed Bo the wrong way, then he's got to look at himself, and I don't think it did. But coming off a year like Bo had in 2024, after he missed half the season hurt and hit 225 and had the worst year of his career, there was no way to sign him for an extension. I mean, if the Blue Jays had made an offer there, it would have been way short of what Bo wanted, and rightfully so. And if Bo had come in with his number, it would have been crazy high coming off of the injuries in the year. So it really was not a good fit for an extension, which doesn't mean they couldn't have revisited it at the All-Star break this year when we saw Bo was back to being Bo. And we kind of understand that that's his level of performance when he's healthy. But as far as an extension last winter, there was just no number that would have been remotely close for both sides.
I love the optimism that it would have been an option to sign to an Acuna and an Ozzy Albies deal. I'm assuming Ozzy in this situation is Bichette, but he's got an ex-MLB player for a dad. I don't think 7 for 35 maybe would have been on the table, but maybe something close. I do like that a lot, though. So now we know that Bo is not on the table anymore, and as well as Kyle Tucker. Of the free agents that are left, who do you think could be the best, maybe top 2 fits to help the Blue Jays in 2026?
Well, first of all, I agree with you on the Albies thing. I was just talking strategy and as opposed to numbers, but lock these guys up for 7 or 8 years. But yeah, that would have been swell. But too many major league dads in that they didn't need the money for sure. Cody Bellinger obviously stands out as the next best fit, especially when the Blue Jays seem to have been so focused on Kyle Tucker. I mean, Bellinger has shown he can play in the AL East. He is a very good defensive outfielder as opposed to Tucker, and defense is something that the Blue Jays seem to really want. It's a weird fit, but Tucker would have been a weird fit, and they were willing to make it happen because you've got Addison Barger, you've got Anthony Santander and George Springer, and while Barger played a lot of third last year, Kazuma Okamoto was here to do that this year, and you would assume that they didn't give him $60 million to be a part-time player. So you wonder quite how the dominoes are going to roll that way. But I would imagine that Cody Bellinger is the next target. And if not, look, you've got Nathan Lucas. And Nathan Lucas, while he's been an average major league hitter, was good enough to be a leadoff man in a World Series game and score the winning run in that game. You've got Joey Loperfido, who came up last July and was ridiculous for 6 weeks, who might get a chance as well. But it does feel like, if you're acting like a bully in free agency and you're taking aim at the Kyle Tuckers of the world, then a pivot to Cody Bellinger should not be out of your reach at all.
I think there's probably some more versatility there because you're going to lose Dalton Varsho soon. You don't want Anthony Santander playing into his last years of his contract in the outfield. So yeah, I think I think Cody has more versatility. Are the Blue Jays the number 1 team in the American League East as we sit here today?
Yeah, I think so. Boston's improved their pitching, but just to catch up to the Blue Jays, right? You've got a top 4 in your rotation of Gausman, Cease, Bieber, and Yesavage. And Jose Barrios is your 5th, or Cody Ponce, who just had the best year anyone's ever had in Korea. That's pretty good. And as much as Jeff Hoffman gave up that home run in Game 7 of the World Series, Jeff Hoffman was a solid closer. Jimmy Garcia's terrific. Taylor Rogers, I can't tell the Twins apart. Whichever Rogers the Blue Jays wound up getting is ridiculous. Tyler, he's I mean, stupid. A 620 OPS against both sides for a knuckle dragger. That's amazing. The bullpen is solid. Could use a capital C closer to push everybody down, but doesn't need it. And again, it's a tremendous defense and a very good offense. So yeah, the Yankees haven't done anything. The Orioles haven't done enough. I do think the Blue Jays right now are still the best team in the AL East.
Is there a scenario that we look at and we say the Blue Jays are a sleeper team for a trade? Because everything has
Sure.
been free agent.
Yeah.
Everything has been in that free agency. But when you have a season where you're coming off a World Series and you have the Nathan Lucas, you have the Ernie Clement, you have the Addison Bargers, which the casual fans had no idea about. Are the Blue Jays in a position, do you feel like they've built up so much cachet that they'd be fine getting rid of some of their big league talent to land that one last piece in a trade? Because all that we've heard about the Blue Jays mostly has been money, 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 and then bring this trade in to give them that final piece.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, all those extra pieces, right? Lucas and Loper Fido, Davis Schneider, even Jose Barrios, though that's a tough contract to move. Lucas is tough to move also because he's 31 and he's only had one full season in the majors. But, you know, you could dangle Addison Barger to get that one final piece. There are pieces that this team can trade. They have a surplus of players and they have some solid prospects in the lower minors. So absolutely, I'm not putting it past them to make a deal. We're still a month away from a full squad at spring training. There's lots of time to do things. And it's true, we have absolutely been concentrating on the free agent market so much, probably because of Cease and because of all the Tucker talk from the beginning of the offseason. But they are well positioned to make a trade if there's a fit.
Hey, last one for you, Mike. We'll do it quick because then we got to jump, and I want to promote your pod one more time. Blue Jays fans' perception of the Dodgers, they fall just short in the World Series, and the Dodgers have beat them in some signings lately. Hey, I think this is a golden era right now for the Jays, and in summary, we've capitalized for sure, right? Or they've capitalized on all of the money they made, all of the attention they're grabbing, but gotta imagine they just despise the Dodgers at the moment and how they've grabbed Shohei and some others. Or is it more like us against the not the world, but what was it during the World Series? We don't need you, something along those lines to Shohei, right?
Yeah. And the same thing will happen. Well, the same thing would happen to Tucker. I guess the Dodgers are here this year. So, yeah, the same thing will probably happen to Tucker, the "we don't need you" chant. It was amazing with Shohei there in game one of the World Series. And I think, you know, the Dodgers are now what the Yankees and Red Sox used to be here, living in the AL East for the last forever. The Blue Jays had a ton of very good teams between 1998 and 2014 and couldn't get a sniff because the Yankees and the Red Sox were the big bullies on the block. And now the Dodgers are that. And I think it's great. I mean, I'd much rather the $60 million go to Kyle Tucker every year than go into the pockets of the Dodgers owners. And Rogers, who owns the Blue Jays, the Jays honestly are like their entire payroll is a rounding error on the Rogers balance sheet because so much of their money comes from cable and wireless. So you can afford it, go spend it. Better to spend it on the players than to keep it for yourselves. But yeah, Dodgers, Jays fans are not happy with the Dodgers for sure. Ohtani, Sasaki, now Tucker. Though it feels like the Mets finished second to Tucker as opposed to the Blue Jays there because he was looking for, I guess, a short-term high-value deal. But it's great to have a villain. And for a while there, the Blue Jays were the villains in the American League this offseason, and they may still be, and they haven't been for a very, very, very long time. But yeah, everybody hates the Dodgers. I don't think they're ruining baseball. I think it's great. I think more teams should behave like they do, and I'm glad that the Blue Jays are starting to, but there is zero love lost. I've had a couple of people already in the last day tell me that the only that they want the Blue Jays to win the World Series in 2026, but it will only taste really good if they do it against the Dodgers.
Wow. See, that, Trevor, is greedy. We don't want just a title. We want a title over the Dodgers. But I love it. Hey, I love it. You
Love it
have
too.
to be unreasonable, yes, as a fan in this sport. Mike, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate you. We could show the board here for Mike to call it out on his own, Mike, just where everyone can catch your show.
Yeah, it's Deep Left Field. The new episode came out yesterday before Tucker and Bo signed, but we're gonna get a bonus episode up tomorrow to talk about the two signings. But in this one, I talked to Ernie Clement, and he talks about Game 7 and the aftermath, and he said at the time he made a pitch to Bo at Bichette's wedding last weekend or 2 weekends ago to come back to the Jays, and that he was kind of hoping they would sign both Tucker and Bichette. Now that's greedy, but that's what you would expect from a player.
We love it. Oh, I want to hear all about that. Ernie Clement's an awesome personality too. So looking forward to catching that. Mike, thanks again. Great to catch up with you.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. We got breaking news here. Wow. I'm telling you, the winter meetings are now, okay? And they're virtual. JT Realmuto and the Philadelphia Phillies agree on a 3-year contract for $45 million guaranteed. There are incentives in there. It looks like maybe 5 a year with a chance to get to $60 million over the course of that contract. Robert Murray, part of the mix here with the money. Ken Rosenthal and Matt Gelb were first breaking the story that they were close. Of course, Trevor, this is the chain of reaction. We have Kyle, then we have Steve Cohen staying up all night and signing Bo, and then the Phillies are like, oh crap, that little Bo affair that we had for 5 minutes, talking to him and saying maybe not JT. Well, that's done. He doesn't like us. We're back to JT, and they sign him really quickly.
That's how it works. The top guy on the board goes, the dominoes fall the fastest. And sometimes when the second guy goes, like in Alex Bregman's case, or arguably third or whatever, it gets the first guy moving a little bit more. So we needed one to fall. We got it. Now we've got 4 guys signing in a matter of days. I love this deal too. JT is just a rock solid, in worst case scenario, a rock solid catcher. He is a veteran, a student of the game. Pitchers love throwing to him. He's got the core of pitchers they have. They're all love throwing to him. So, this is right up the alley. That's what he deserves to be paid. He's got his big contract that he just lived out. He's a very wealthy person, and he's in a place that he seemingly really likes to be. So, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. Very like Carl Schwarber, just wants to play this thing out and play it out at a place that he likes to be. So, he's getting up there in age, but he's one of the most athletic catchers that I've seen and that I had the pleasure to play against. He's still up there in the athletic catcher category, even being older than most of the other guys. So you just can't go wrong there. Yeah, the bat's resting a little bit, but they're counting on their core guys to be the big run producers as is anyways. He's not going to hurt you. He puts good ABs together and he stays healthy and he stays on the field. So I like this deal. I like the escalators just in case he does produce at an even higher level. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's what it took to get him. And it seems like a pretty modest deal, not going to really hurt him too much. So I love it. Happy for JT, and I'm happy for Phillies fans. I think that's a piece that you get peace of mind knowing that you got a guy who knows what he's doing back there and knows the crew that's going to be throwing the ball to him.
Is everybody scared now? They're just running the same team back. The Phillies didn't make any changes. They were so terrible winning all their games last year in the regular season and then getting beat by the Dodgers. They're running the same team back. I'm going to go ahead and be on the other side of it. They're hungry. I think these guys have been texting and calling each other the whole offseason. And I would disagree with the Phillies show. I think Ruben said it on the Phillies show, one of our other shows, that, hey, these guys are texting Bo Bichette. They might be undercutting their other buddy, JT Realmuto. I think JT may have taken a little bit less if Bo signed there. Then they had a little extra cash. I think from what I heard, it was 2 years, 18 a year, which would have put him at 36. Let's stretch it out, give him $9 more million. He wasn't going to get 3 years at 18 a year. So he got 3 years at 45. So it's 15 a year. It's an $8 million pay cut that he got from last year. To me, I think this is right on line with what the Phillies do. They make very, very good offers to guys who are in their system, guys who they know, guys who they care about, and they're very professional with it. Can JT's offense improve? Probably. Marginally. Is he going to have an 850 OPS? No. Does he need to? Absolutely not. Dave Dombrowski called out Bryce Harper. Whether it was on purpose or not, Bryce Harper now has a t-shirt that says, not elite. He's hungry. Trey Turner is hungry. He won the batting title last year. JT Realmuto knows he has been in Philly for years now, and there's not a World Series. Kyle Schwarber wanted to come back. Did he get the best offer from the Phillies? Yeah, but he wanted to come back because they are hungry for what they have fallen short of. And I don't think this is a downgrade at all. To me, I think this is an upgrade because of the fact that who would the Phillies have pivoted to at a premier position? Would they have pivoted to Jonah Heim, Victor Caratini, both big league catchers, but not to the level of JT, the familiarity with the pitchers, which most of the pitchers are coming back, and the familiarity with the fact that he comes up with big hits. He's not going to be the stalwart. He's not going to be the aircraft carrier in your lineup, but he's part of a lineup that works well together. And in my opinion, this is kind of it was a basic signing that has large ramifications.
He's more valuable to the Phillies than anyone else, and he's definitely a valuable player, but
Totally.
it was hard to see another team emerge with money like this. I mean, we never heard about it. And you know what's funny? His agent, who is now out of the agency game and works for Buster Posey with the Giants, Jeff Berry, I believe mentioned how last time around it was frustrating for him, both with JT and with Hader. He was like, I never got anything else, even in the same ballpark, right? Nobody even made a real offer. I know for Hader, and I'm pretty sure he said that for JT as well. It's not that there wasn't interest, but teams were like, oh, if you're playing in this level, then you should sign with Philly. We're not there. So it's not to knock JT. It's just that it appeared as if this was the spot. And this is how his free agency played out last time around. So I'll pose this question to you, Trevor, because I pose it to Erik all the time. Did you feel like the Phillies needed to mix it up more than they did this offseason? Are you okay with the way that they've been running things out there? It's not like they've done nothing, right? There's some tweaks here. Matt Strahm is out. Who did they replace him with? Was that
Brad Keller?
Brad Keller is in. Adolis Garcia is in. Max Kepler is out and now busted for roids. But Trevor, what do you think about the way that the Phillies are putting out this year's squad? Obviously, Kyle Schwarber returns. Been a big disappointment the last couple of postseasons.
I think they're a little bit on the fence here, and I think this was a decision that it was talked about a lot this offseason, especially right after they got eliminated. That is it time to blow it up and go a different direction with our core, or should we stick with this or try to run it back one more year, because that was just one of those didn't execute when we had the opportunity, because as Kratz said, like, they had a great regular season. Like, it's not like they fell off there. It was just they didn't get the job done against the team that eventually won the World Series that everyone says is a super team. So, like, if we're only going off of that series and then we're going to make huge wholesale changes, you got to be certain that you can move the pieces and that there's free agents out there that you can start building a core and you have another crop of young guys coming in. And I think the timing's not quite right for that. And then as Schwarber's kind of, I think, market developed and they were able to grab him, that's when the decision got locked in. They're like, okay, let's try to run this back. And this might be the last year because, you know, we only have Zach Wheeler for so much longer. But we also, you know, we have Christopher Sanchez, who's very quickly become the ace. You know, he got him for a while. So it's like it's this weird, like, liminal space between knowing what we are. We know what we have, and we know that it can win a division, and that can get us in a good position to go on a run in the playoffs. So maybe we just go for that again and see what happens. But I think that if this happens again and there's an early bounce from the play, actually, to be honest, if there's no World Series, frankly, even if they win the World Series, it'll probably, no matter what, after this year, those, I think wholesale changes will start to be made in a big way. Now we'll see what happens with the Stott and the Bohms situation, like the back end of the batting average or the batting order and such. But like, for them to go back and do it again, I think it's a conscious decision. This isn't lack of like, oh, we couldn't get anybody. I think they're okay doing it. And I don't necessarily disagree with it either. I think that it's worth another shot. They were a very good team. They were one of the most complete teams, I thought, all season last year. And though some guys have gone, Ranger Suarez is gone, and we don't know what we're going to get out of Nola and those things. There's some more question marks than there were. They're still a very deep team. They're still a very complete team. And I think they filled in some of their holes with some potential comeback candidates who could be a big deal. I think Adolis Garcia could potentially be like, he could go off. He could have one of those years where he's just amazing. He could do a Teoscar type thing. I mean, he hasn't in a couple of years, but he could. It's possible. And if that completely changes the complexion. So I think they put themselves in a position with high ceilings where a couple of things work out. We're singing a different tune, and they still have their core of rock solid veteran guys who all like being there. And I think that was just where that decision came from and how it came together.
Now that we saw it all play out, Kratz, and you watch many, many Phillies games and you know this team, do you think they would have been better off if they landed Bo? I mean, there was a chance that Steve Cohen didn't pull the all-nighter and say, okay, we'll give you the bag. And then he was going to be a Philly probably today. 7 years, 200. That was one of the reports that he asked for. Phillies were like, cool, we're down. And they have, some long-term money coming off the books that they'll be able to kind of balance things out better. It didn't happen. So do you think Bo Bichette to the Phillies in 2026 would have made them better than Bohm and Realmuto on that team?
In 2026?
Just 26.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, the way you were wording the question, I thought you were going to say moving forward. In 2026, I think the offense is better with Bo in the lineup. The issue is I don't think the team is better without JT. I don't think you can find me unless they could figure out how to trade for an Adley Rutschman, which I get it. He's had down years. I don't see how I don't think Bo makes enough of a upgrade over Bohm that it mitigates what JT brings to this team. I have a tough time believing that he picks up enough of the value to losing Bohm, which he has to out-hit, which he'll do for sure. I mean, Bohm does a great job of driving runs in, just like Bo does a great job of driving runs in. But behind the dish is such an important piece. The part that I thought you were going to lean to was, does it make them better going forward? To me, I think this JT contract, it's ironic, it's 3 years. To me, that's the Phillies window. And maybe I'm a player, so maybe the window's only 2 years. I think the window is 3 years. Trey Turner, in 3 years, will be 35 years old. JT will be done at the end of his 3 years. It could go up with all the extensions and everything that could happen with that contract. Bryce Schwarber will be 37 in 3 years. Bryce Harper will be 36 in 3 years. It's ironic that this is the last guy they sign in this, and 3 years. I think this sets the Phillies up better for the future than adding another 7 or 8 year contract, however long the Bo contract was going to be, and have those guys aging with an aging Bo. To me, this sets it up where it's like, okay, at the end of this contract, the next GM, the next president of baseball operations, if it's not Dave, maybe it's Sam Fold, maybe he comes back in, maybe it's Preston Mattingly or somebody from the outside. That's when they have to realize that this window is most likely shut because of the age of everybody, because Trey and Bryce are not going to be able to DH. So they still have to be out there on the field because Schwarber's still in for 2 more years after this 3-year JT Realmuto deal is done.
Hey, they might not have the deepest farm system, but I do like some of the guys that are coming through and that are just about ready to cook. Aiden Miller infield, Justin Crawford outfield, Andrew Painter on the mound. I mean, you tell me if I'm missing any others that you think are going to be potential impact in 2026. All 3 of those guys can be impact in 2026 for the Phillies.
Yes. I'm going to say 2 will. I mean, Trevor's the pitcher, but when I watch Andrew Painter throw, yes, he didn't have command last year, but his athleticism and the fact that he's able to contain his frame in such a small window, I think after Tommy John coming back from it, I think he's going to regain that command because of his athleticism, the speed that he comes down the mound, and how controlled he is in such a large frame. And I think he's going to be impact, and I think Justin Crawford is going to be impact. And I think without signing Bo, it gives them a lane to allow Aiden Miller a little bit more seasoning in the minor leagues, but also anything happens to Stott, anything happens to Trey, anything happens to Bohm, bang, Aiden Miller's ready for that.
Yep, there you go. All right, so good talk on the Phillies. They get their deal done with JT Realmuto. Let's swing back to some Dodgers talk for a moment here. Leo.
Wait for video.
Leo is just basking in cash right now. Your BetMGM futures and changes in line movement for the Dodgers after they sign Kyle Tucker. So you have the open price, the before KT, and the after KT. So they were at plus 300. Kyle Tucker signs. That line now moves to plus 225. It's almost 2-1 odds for the Dodgers to win the World Series. I don't know if we've ever seen that. National League, they're at plus 130, 1.3-1 odds. And then to win the NL West, that's the real crazy one too. Minus 375 has now jumped to minus 650. 650 to win a hundo for the Dodgers to win the National League West. Damn. Whoo. Thoughts on this movement here and how, I mean, I guess you can touch it, but it's just really tough to get any value out of this, Trevor.
I don't know. I'm sure someone's doing it. But yeah, even without Tucker, I mean, like, you're not going to make a ton of money. I mean, anyone out there who's like, I'll do 350 for 100 for them to win the West. Yeah, it might be out of the window now. Or sorry, 375. For one guy to move it that way, especially with a guy with a team with a bunch of MVPs on it already, probably is a gut punch for the people who are preparing to make that, just to have some little bit of security, because they've won, I don't know, they've won what, like 60 of the last 61 or something divisions. So, I mean, good luck, guys. There is no sure bets, as they say, but as it goes, that might be your best. This might be the best direction you've ever been able to go in order to feel confident at all about anything going your way. So,
I mean, to move the lines like this, people don't know lines or anything like that. The NL West one it's wild. I know it's not dollar for dollar compared to the World Series, but for the World Series odds to move almost an entire point is crazy. And the fact that they're almost a 2-1 favorite to win the World Series, not against another team. When they were down in the series last year, I bought them at 200, plus 200, and they were just playing the Dodgers. Like, there was just another team. You have 29 other teams. That's where everybody feels the Dodgers are to win the World Series. But the fact that the NL West shifted almost double, you almost have to put down twice the amount that you had to just to win 100, is a crazy number. But it's also a number that says, dang, this team is good.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just crazy to see one signing make an impact like that too. The Dodgers were already heavily favored, and when you add Tucker and a win projection that goes into models like this, that's what's crazy, Trevor. Now, I don't know if the win added here total for Kyle Tucker will actually impact. Like, I'm curious to see the win-loss number, right? The win total number for the Dodgers. Because I do think some of that has to do with the way that they manage their pitching staff throughout a season, and they really pump the brakes on guys to make sure that they're going to be ready for October. I bet the jump there is not as significant as the odds moving towards them just doing what they need to do, right? It's crazy to think this way, but Trevor, I actually think the Dodgers are able to look at the landscape of where they're at division-wise and be like, okay, we can take it easy on these pitchers at this time period since we're up 8 games at the moment on the division. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but they are making sure, of course, they're in a comfy spot. They take the division down and that their pitching is going to be ready for the postseason. I don't know if that made any sense, but the impact
I
that
have the
Kyle
number.
Tucker makes, of course, going to help. Okay, what do you got for us?
So just the other day, we locked in the Dodgers under at 99 wins. Today, 103.5.
Jeez.
Oh, see, that's awesome. See, that's what happened last year. And then if you smashed the under, you crushed it, right? Dodgers finished with what last year? Like 95 wins, I want to say. I'll look it up.
93 wins.
Was it 93?
Yeah, I thought they were closer to 93, but I have it right here.
93.
Or maybe.
So
Yep.
they were in the hundreds last year heading into the season, right? It might have been like 101.5, whatever it was. And that was an easy hit. I think that's going to be the same case again here. I don't think this team's winning 104 games. I think they're going to go through all kinds of pitching injuries and fun, and they're just going to be like, cool, we don't care. We're going to win enough games. We'll win 97 games, but 103.5, that's the number?
They might
103 point. Yeah. And I don't see it
win
as
that
pitching
many, but
injuries.
if they get lucky. Yeah. If everyone's healthy, they could. But it's not their goal. It's not their goal. The 107 was because no one got hurt a few years ago. That's why they won 107 games.
Yeah.
But I think
I was going to say guys that went deep into October and then a lot of dudes that'll be involved in the WBC too. But anyway, Kratz.
No, I don't think it's necessarily injuries. Like the Braves had injuries. They had dudes that could not come back. The Dodgers have guys that were hurting. Can we call it the mitigation? Like they were just mitigating through the season. Like it's okay. Like I get it, Blake Snell. You're barking a little bit. You know what we want you to be? Full strength. We're going to let you build up as much as we can. Then we're going to throw you on a longer rehab assignment. We know we have Shohei. We know we have Yamamoto, 6-day guys. Is Roki going to come back to the rotation at some point? Doubtful, but is another 6-day guy. Like they're spreading these guys out, and that's where I see it being really tough. And I'm locking in. I'm essentially doubling it down because I bought it at 99 and I loved it. I can't not love it at 100. They need less than 104. They need 103 wins or less, and I'm taking it. Sorry, the game it's too tough. The NL West is too good, and I don't think the Dodgers want to put everything that it takes to win 104 games into it. I could be wrong. They're a much better team than 103 wins, but I don't think they care.
Yeah, older position players too, right? Amazing team. No one thinks they're not going to win the division, all that, but just a different situation. Hey, we're showing you the BetMGM Poker Spade Online Championship. It starts in 2 days and runs through February 1st, the 18th of January through February 1st. And also, you can play a little poker with Todd Father, Danny Graves, and myself this weekend if you're in the Cincinnati area and you'd like to join us over at Reds Fest. Actually, the poker tournament itself sold out, but I think you can still pop up and hang out. We'll be at Reds Fest, Todd Father and Danny. And then we'll also do a special Q&A at Tom's Watch Bar on Sunday. That's at the Banks, right around the ballpark there, Sunday, January 18th. That'll start at 12 o'clock, classic, 12 o'clock Eastern time. We're on YouTube. I can say whatever I want. Gambling problem or concern, there's help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's get to our next guest. Hey, it's Giraffe Neck Mark joining us right now, one of the star hosts of the Mets'd Up show and podcast. You can catch it at YouTube or wherever you get your pods. Also can catch plenty of content from Mark all over YouTube and everywhere else. Mark, happy birthday week to ya. And what's your happiness meter after the past 24 hours have transpired?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy one. Shout out turning 30, finally hit that milestone. But losing Kyle Tucker, I was like, great. Love that. Great way to end the birthday. Wake up this morning, getting ready to talk about how Kyle Tucker hurt. And then Bichette's a Met out of absolutely nowhere. I didn't see that one coming.
Dude, incredible. So I have been listening to almost every episode all off season long. And I remember, I think it was the previous episode. I know you guys did an emergency episode today, but the previous one was talking about the Tucker interest for the Mets. And you and James Shanna were kind of split, right? You were trying to be a little more optimistic. James was like, nah, this, I think he said like this has Dodgers written all over it, and he nailed it. So take us through the psychology there of why you guys thought that would go down, and then how out of left field the Bo Bichette factor felt.
Yeah, with Kyle Tucker, I mean, I think I'm a Mets homer. I'm a little biased. And I wanted to believe that Kyle Tucker was going to be a Met. He's just one of the 20 best hitters, I think, on the planet at the absolute worst. And the contract offer was so aggressive that I thought, again, similarly, shout out Steve Cohen, where there's smoke, there's fire. But obviously, he ended up picking the Dodgers. And I think we all kind of knew it was going to be the Dodgers. James he's got to keep me level sometimes, which is why he had to check me there and make sure that everybody knows we still thought it was going to be them. So that one hurt, but he would have been a great fit. So the idea that like the Blue Jays were coming in, I never really fully bought that Tucker was going to be there. It did seem like it was for the Dodgers that he kind of was at least pushing that the Mets were giving these offers. And then for Bichette this morning, I mean, that's just, it's a lot of money. We've seen a crazy amount of money the last 12 to 18 hours on the free agent market, between Tucker getting nearly 60 million a year. I know there's deferment, and then Bo Bichette going 40 mil plus a year. I didn't expect him to get 40 million a year, and I definitely didn't expect it with the Mets, but at the same time, I'm happy. Like the Mets desperately needed a right-handed bat in this lineup. They're clearly making a choice that they want to get new people in, new players, putting him in different positions. A little bit worried about if he plays third base, how he looks there, but the bat's legit, and adding that to the Mets lineup, that's never a bad thing.
I asked Ken Rosenthal about an hour and a half ago this same question. Is the Mets lineup better today than it was if they brought the exact same guys who they had last year at the end of the year?
No, I don't think it is. I still think I would have preferred Pete Alonso over Bo Bichette, and I think that's something that Mets fans are probably going to struggle with in how you think about this team moving forward. The lineup offensively, not better. I think defensively, this team is better. I think that was one of their issues last year. I also think that we're going to see guys step up this year. Like I think Francisco Alvarez at the end of the year showed that bat is what we thought it could be, and that will help this lineup a lot. But I would have preferred Pete Alonso over Bo. I think losing Nimmo hurt. We still don't have two outfielders. Like I trust Carson Benj whenever he is ready, but you don't want to put that kind of pressure on the kid coming into opening day. So yeah, I think there's still crazy enough to say a lot of holes in this team, but we're definitely better off now with Bo Bichette than we were without him.
Mark, what about the other two guys that might be pushed out of the playing third base? We had 2024, it was Vientos' job, and in 2025, it was Beatty's job, and now we have both of those guys still probably only can play third base, and now there's a third baseman. So what happens with those two guys? Do we conceivably see, because pitching is a problem, do you see any world in where one or both, because we know Vientos can play first as well and be a DH, and he's got a pretty good bat, like where those guys get moved and maybe there's some big league ready pitching out there because pitching is a problem? What do you see happening with those two guys?
Yeah, so I think to talk about Beatty first, I think Ken said in one of his tweets or an article recently how Beatty they might see playing a little bit first, as well as his name was very active on the trade market. So I think that if Beatty were to be moved, it's going to be for a starting pitcher. I don't know who that would be, but I think with the control and what he showed in the second half of the season, Beatty's definitely got some value right now. But also that's why I think the Mets would want to keep him, and the fact that he can play third, he can play second, maybe he can play a little first. And I know this is a pipe dream, but in the past, he played even left field for a couple innings, I think, for the Mets, and they tried that out a few spring trainings ago. Maybe he takes over the Jeff McNeil role, where he's more of a super utility man. But I do think that if the right starting pitcher is available and Brett Beatty has to be on the trade to get that guy, it seems like the Mets might be willing to do so. Now, for Vientos, I'm not 100% sure what they do with him. He's kind of just a first baseman right now, more of a DH. And while we saw the heights in 2024, where he really was a huge reason why that team got on a run, 2025 was the complete opposite. He just wasn't the same hitter that we saw and expected. I don't think that the Mets should lose faith in Vientos, but with the way that roster crunches work, with the way that options work, with the limited positional flexibility that Vientos has, I think it's tough to kind of imagine where he fits into this team, especially now with the addition of Bo. So maybe that's a trade. Maybe that's trying to win a job out of spring training. But I think the Mets still have a ton of moves to make, and those guys will definitely be a part of them.
Two words. I asked you about the lineup, but two words we keep hearing from the Mets, whether it's David Stearns or Nimmo as he went out the door: run prevention. Are you at the point where you're like, I'm fine with it, I'm able to sit with my hands just folded, or are you going to watch every game thinking about run prevention like, I don't know what's going to happen?
Yeah, like I think it would be crazy for any Mets fans to think that like Bo Bichette's going to come in and be a Gold Glove third baseman. So then it comes to the conversation of how bad was Pete Alonso's defense versus what will Bo Bichette's defense look like at third, and then how different will their bat be? That's going to be the big thing that I think every Met fan goes back and forth with this year. I think they did improve defensively. Like Simeon at second base is a huge, huge boost. And I think they still are going to address the outfield defense at some point. But yeah, hearing run prevention being as prominent of a like talking point for David Stearns this offseason, and then seeing some of the moves like Jorge Polanco probably can play first base, but he's never really done it. So defense is still a question mark there. Bo Bichette's never played a professional inning, I think, at third base, not even in the minor leagues. That's still a question mark there. That's one of those where, Kratz, I think you're right. I might be crossing my fingers a little bit more this year of like, I hope these guys work out these positions. The bats, though, I trust. It's the gloves now.
One of the things that Scott said was Stevie Cohen woke up this morning and was like, crap, I didn't get Tucker. I'm going after Bo. My argument was, I don't think he slept last night. Do you think Stevie Cohen, the way that he came into New York and is like, this is going to be a winning team. I want to become the team of New York City. I want to be this, that, like all the things that he said. Do you think he is enjoying the way it is going based on the splash he made last year with Juan Soto and the fact that he trusted David Stearns' pitching up until May 16th-ish, his pitching plan? Do you think he enjoys the way it's going, or do you think this move solidifies the fact that he's like, David, great job. Get out of my way. We're getting Bo because I cannot lose out on another guy.
I'll be honest. I hope Steve Cohen's not happy with how it's going. The Mets still haven't done anything. So it would be honestly awful if he was like, hey, this is going pretty well. I mean, I think we know he's pretty excited about the project that's going to be going on in Citi Field in the next coming years. That's probably a big thing that's helping him out. But for this Mets team, like, I do think this was a bit of a move that was a little on tilt. Like, I think he got a little frustrated with what happened with Tucker. The Mets seemingly gave a pretty good offer to him. Maybe something that Steve Cohen thought nobody could beat. So it does feel a little bit like he kind of pushed the chips all in here and said, we have to go get this next guy. This is the guy I want. I know that it's been reported that the Mets had been talking to Bo, that this was the plan all along, that if they didn't get Tucker, they'd move to Bichette, but we hadn't heard anything about it. So for me, from an outside perspective, I think that Cohen definitely got a little frustrated with what happened last night, and they decided to put all their money and put their chips into Bo Bichette, and hopefully more moves coming forward, because this team still got, again, a lot of holes.
I want to talk about pitching one more time. We have 6 starting pitchers out here in the depth chart, including 3 of the real young guys in Jonah Tong, Brendan Sproat, and Nolan McLean, who by all accounts should probably be the opening day starter. But the other 2, Jonah and Sproat. 2 questions, 2-parter. First, outside of those guys waiting in the wings, who's the next young guy, prospect guy, to come up and be in the starting pitching category? And if it comes down to these 6 guys in spring, we're competing for the 5th spot. Do you think it's conceivable? Is this something that you see Stearns doing, or maybe getting some value out of, say, Jonah Tong's the 6th guy outside looking in? Do we make a decision on maybe getting some long innings out of them, some more big league time, or possibly turning them into a back end guy, because there's a lot of swing and miss here? Or is this going to be a wait and see because of the wealth of the pitching? Do you think anyone could be moving to the bullpen? Is what I'm trying to ask.
Definitely. I think Sproat and Tong could definitely be guys early on this season in the bullpen, especially because with Tong, we know that the fastball's great. The changeup's awesome. We need to develop that third pitch. So until he gets a third pitch that's more consistent between the curveball and slider, I think bullpen long relief role is kind of what makes the most sense going into opening day this season. Where Sproat, I think, like similar to what Stearns has done in Milwaukee with guys like Burns and Peralta and Woodruff, they kind of all started in the bullpen until they got to a point where Stearns and the Brewers felt comfortable enough to put them into that rotation, and then they fill in pretty seamlessly. So I think, yeah, those guys will be good back end arms that can give us some length in the bullpen, and that's never a bad thing to have too, especially with how often the Mets starting pitching couldn't go deep last year. You don't want to necessarily, I think it's going to be hard to expect Sean Manaea necessarily right out of spring training to be able to go 6-7 innings, Kodai Senga, those kind of guys. So to be able to have Tong and Sproat in the bullpen to piggyback off of them if they do go shorter in an outing, I do love that flexibility. And I am still very excited to see what strides forward these guys make during in spring training, because the last time we saw them was at the end of the season. So maybe Jonah Tong has developed that curveball, that slider, to become a third or even a 4th pitch now that he can use to help get out left-handed batters and right-handed batters. But That will still be determined. A guy that you mentioned, though, that's maybe a little bit slept on, a little under the radar in the system. We obviously have Christian Scott coming back from injury that I think is going to be a big part of this team too down the stretch. But Jack Wenninger, he absolutely dominated the minors last year, had one of the highest K to walk ratios in all of minor league baseball. I think because of all the big name young pitchers that the Mets had, he's been slept on a little bit, but you're starting to see him kind of float around that top 100 prospect list. And 2026 could be a big, big year for him. If he keeps striking out batters like he has and limiting the walks, it's hard not to get excited about a pitcher like that.
Next move you see and next move that you want to make this, that smile back on your birthday train, because old birthday cake is totally fine unless you left it out and it got stale. So we can't let the Mets get stale here. So the next move you see happening and the next move you want to happen.
Okay, so, I mean, next move I see happening, I think that it's going to be Framber Valdez. It feels like Framber's been kind of on the Mets' radar all offseason, especially if they're going to go that aggressive with the Bichette contract. I would assume that they're going to go that aggressive with Framber Valdez too, especially with all the qualifying offer stuff now. I think that the Mets will definitely push in some of the chips on Framber, and I think he'd be a great fit in this rotation. I would love to see them go out and trade for a Freddie Peralta, or again, if you're asking me my birthday dream, if Tarik Skubal's ever available again, I would love to go after him, but I think that's an insane one to ask for. Freddie Peralta seems more realistic. That's someone who I'd love to see the Mets go after. I think they're going to be focused on pitching, and then maybe they address the outfield again. The Cody Bellinger rumors have been so hot and cold. I can't get a read as a Met fan on anything going on this offseason, let alone what's going on with Cody Bellinger in the Mets' interest. So maybe it's him. Maybe it's on the trade market. Maybe they really just believe in Carson Bench. But truthfully, for me to feel better and what I expect the Mets to do next, I do think it's going to be on the starting pitching market, and I think it's Framber Valdez.
Pecking order. We need a pecking order.
Okay.
National League East pecking order today, January 16th. Lock it in, Mark.
I'm going to go Phillies 1 still. I think until the Mets win that division, the Phillies are still the best team. And you look at them top to bottom, they're good. I think the Mets are 2. They were pretty close last year, and it really took a spectacular collapse at the end of the season to not make it into the playoffs. I think Braves are 3. That team just had a weird season, and I would like to see them be healthy before I can feel confident about what's going on in Atlanta. 4 Marlins, 5 Nationals. I think the Nationals are a clear tier even below the Marlins.
Can you definitively say, because I got roasted by this secret Twitter channel chat that doesn't allow outside Met fans in last year? Can you definitively say, I tried to respond to them and they didn't let me respond. I was like,
we're vicious.
You know what? They weren't vicious. It was fine. They just said stuff like you're bald, you're fat, you had a brutal career, all things that are very, very true and not that hurtful. But can you definitively say the Mets today, without your Framber Valdez and Tarik Skubal trade, are they better than the Braves?
I think so. Something happened last year with the Braves where I like a lot of the moves that they made. I don't think the Braves are a bad team, but I also was weirdly one of the guys last year, very early to it, where I was like, I don't think the Braves are going to be necessarily as good as we expect them. I had them missing the playoffs. I had them finishing in 3rd place last year in my predictions. One of the few things I did get right. But at the same time, that team's getting older. We saw some of the bats not be as strong as they were in previous years. I think while there's definitely supposed to be some regression back to the mean positively for them, I also think at times this might just be the version of the Braves. It is tough with that rotation. Spencer Strider was horrible. I don't think he's going to be that bad, but you kind of have to see it till you believe it. Chris Sale's getting a year older. There's a lot of question marks there. I think them and the Mets are very close. I think they're in terms of talent and what their kind of goals are this year. I think those teams can be interchangeable in that 2-3 spot, but I do think that there is a clear difference between the Mets, Braves, and then the Phillies at the top.
Mark, completely off topic. Happy birthday, but I have to ask.
You.
I haven't watched all the Mets'd Up episodes, but maybe you explained it. Is that a Jabari Blash jersey hanging up? How on earth do you have a Jabari Blash jersey, and how have I never seen it? And is it only because of the number that's on there that you have it hanging up?
I I think that adds to it. Jabari, I think, knew what he was doing when he was picking that number out in Japan. But to make a long story short, Jabari Blash, when I first started my YouTube journey, I was making MLB The Show videos. And one of the best videos that I made at the time was using a lineup of common players, which are the lowest rated guys in the game. I saw Jabari's name, threw him into the lineup because it's an awesome name, Jabari Blash. And in that video, he performed incredibly well. So from that moment on, any chance I got on my channel, I used Jabari in a video. Fast forward, he gets moved from the Padres to the Yankees. I'm a Yankee hater. That was like one of the worst days for me, like ever on YouTube, where my favorite random player ever gets traded to the team that I hate. I make a video reacting to it, gets way more views than it ever should have for a Jabari Blash reaction. Jabari sees it, reaches out to me, we become friends, and then we meet each other. He's one of the nicest guys ever, truly. Like one of the reasons why I'm still doing what I am today, because a Major League Baseball player reaching out and like just showing me love and respect was really cool. And then when he moved to Japan, he was like, "Hey, I want to send you a jersey. Like, I appreciate, what you've done for me and making my life positive and all this kind of stuff." So yeah, Jabari, my favorite player ever, nicest guy I've ever met. Got to hang up the jersey he sent me there without a doubt.
Wow.
So
that's
nice.
some duo. Yeah, that's cool. Right.
And
Crazy pull, but that's Jabari.
and he's a monster too. If you've ever seen Jabari Blash in person, I was in camp with him one year and I was like, oh my gosh, how are you that large of a person? He waffles baseballs, but I'll say this for Scott.
Yes.
Giggity.
Oh my gosh, you stole my line. I'm not even kidding. I was waiting for it on the outro. Now I don't even know what to say. I need my teleprompter to change. Giggity. Marc, thanks, man. You're the man. Happy birthday. And everyone check out Mets'd Up, which we're about to show more about in a second, but appreciate you.
Thank you guys. Let's go Mets.
Yeah, there's the Mets'd Up podcast. Bo Bichette is a Met. I love the reaction face too from James Shiano on there. And Bo will soon have a helmet that is with a Mets logo. Mets'd Up podcast is part of the Foul Territory Network. It's been awesome content from them all offseason covering what's going on with the Metropolitans, and they've got a fresh up episode with more on the Bo Bichette signing. I can't talk today. Let's shake it up. The quietest three-team trade of all time went down in baseball last night. Trevor, I'm sure you saw this and got a chuckle. Kyle Tucker signs, and then through the algorithm, you really had to dig, right? You're like digging. There's like jokes, all kinds of hate about the Dodgers doing everything. And you're like, oh, wow, I see this one tweet about a three-team trade that involves the Rays, the Reds, and the Angels. Josh Lowe is now an Angel. Gavin Lux and right-hander pitching prospect Chris Clark going to the Rays. Left-handed reliever Brock Burke to the Reds. And Keith Law put a great article out in The Athletic to explain some of the dynamics here. Josh Lowe has had like the mini breakout in 2023 and really declined in the past 2 years. The Rays have quite a few outfielders, including Jacob Melton added to the mix. So now they're able to give him more freedom of playing time. Also on this, Trevor, you have Gavin Lux, who used to be a top prospect with the Dodgers, now moving around a little bit. He was with the Reds. Kind of a weird year for him. I mean, OBP monster, right? 350 on base percentage, was top 40 in baseball. Left field defensive metrics weren't great, but I mean, I think he's going to be better at second base, and I'm imagining he's replacing Brandon Lau over there. Reds shed a little bit of money too, not that they need to, but $5.5 million for Lux. Instead, they bring on Brock Burke to be part of the bullpen for about half the price. Maybe there's another move coming for the Reds in their outfield. I think there should be, but your thoughts on the fun that was had here? Oh, and I guess the Angels getting Josh Lowe, who does still have, I think, high potential to be a part of an outfield that still needs to fill itself out. The only regular from last year that returns is Joe Adell.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a classic. Anything with the trade with the Rays is just a bunch of teams filling in. It's a bunch of quality players that are around the same maybe overall value for the team, and then we're just putting guys in. We need a right fielder and we need a second baseman. Okay, let's swap these two guys, and now we have them in the right positions, but maybe maybe our win total didn't go up in any meaningful way, and then maybe there's a prospect that they can hit on. And so, I mean, these three teams are all kind of doing that. It is interesting. Someday I'm going to solve the Angels equation, like what the long-term goals are and plan is. It's a lot of go grab a guy who had a good year a few years ago and then hope he comes back, and then most of the time doesn't. But hey, I'm pulling for Josh Lowe. He, like you said, he has the ceiling to be a substantial bet in that lineup, lefty stick. So he also kind of fulfills a need. Perry Manassian's made these type of deals as well, just trying to fill out the areas where there's not a lot of depth. So I mean, there's nothing really to say beyond that, and it's going to be and the Reds going to get in relief pitching. They've been doing that a little bit too, but yeah, they definitely need to do a little bit more. It's going to be interesting. It's kind of weird to see how little they've been doing after being a playoff team last year. But again, they might have been handed that more than they earned it, and that could be something that they're feeling a little bit. They're not quite ready to go put their foot on the gas, but they definitely need to do something because they are close, and you got to take advantage. When 12 teams go to the playoffs, you know you can get in with 83 wins, and who knows what happens at that point? You can go steal one. So I like it. I think all three of these teams got more solid. Maybe not necessarily going to make bigger waves, but maybe more consistent teams, and I like the pieces here.
I love this for the Angels because of the fact that I think Josh Lowe's the best player in this entire rigmarole of players being moved. But last year they said we need more slug. They went and got Jorge Soler in the outfield, which has now blocked Mike Trout. And then Joe Adell took a leap forward in the sense that he hit a bunch of homers, but was the worst defensive center fielder in the game. So to me, I like this for the Angels, but it seems like it was like, yeah, we did want more slug, but then we got Jorge, and now there's not slug available. We got rid of Taylor Ward, so we actually lost more slug. So did they change their mindset? I don't know, but I think Josh Lowe's going to have a better year than he had this past year. He's coming off of an injury. He's played after he came back last year. I think there's a dynamic portion to his game that I don't think a lot of people know because the Rays don't get seen by many people live in their stadium or nationally. But I think Gavin Lux, I'll never forget when he was in spring training and he was anointed as the next shortstop for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Kind of got a little yippy, tore his knee up pretty bad, and I think he's really trying to still continue to come back from that. And I think if he can settle into a place that will just let him get his at-bats, he can figure out a way to stay out on the field for 155 games this year. I think his on-base percentage will make his batting average climb. He makes great decisions at the plate. And I think if he can play 140 games at second base and get into 150 to 155 games, I think the amount of those at-bats, that consistency will help him regain some of his highly touted prospect status that he had. And I think it could be a really good piece for the Rays to be able to fit back in. But he has to be out on the field every single day to get those significant, consistent at-bats. And I think that has to happen at one position because sometimes when you're bouncing around, it's tough to get that flow going.
Did you guys see the movie The Replacements back in the day? Keanu Reeves. That one hit. I just thought it was really fun, right? All these guys that had these past primes or superstar level fame. So for some reason, and maybe you have a play on words with baseball because replacement level player is a thing. So it's like the replacement levels. Maybe I'm just going totally off on a limb here, but the Angels' point here is that they seem to be bringing guys in that like had this little burst, right? Josh Lowe, Alek Manoah, Grayson Rodriguez, right? There's a lot of these like, hey, this guy had some awesomeness. Jordan Romano. Let's see if we could find it again. Let's see if we could bring it back. No, Kratz?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, less in this trade. Less in this trade. I believe it with the Jordan Romano. I believe it with the Alek Manoah. They signed Noah Syndergaard the other year. You know, it feels like to me they're a year late. It feels like the Angels get somebody and it's a year too late. Like, man, if we had Tyler Anderson when he was legit, if we had, this guy when he was the man, if we had gotten, now I think the Kikuchi signing has been something for them. If they can turn the air conditioning back up, that would be good. But I think that's where they miss. I think that's where they miss, and they don't have enough depth in the minor leagues because all their minor leaguers are in the big leagues. They're training in the big leagues, and I think these past their prime. I wouldn't say past their prime because I really think Josh Lowe is a good player. I think he's out of all those guys that you just mentioned. I think he can be a 20-plus home run guy. I think he can be a 20-plus bag, maybe even a 30-plus bag guy. So if you pick up a 20-30 guy that's going to play way better outfield than anybody they're going to put out there. I mean, think about their outfield defense right now. I haven't looked up Josh Lowe's metrics in the outfield. I think it could be a little skewed from playing in George Steinbrenner, but I'd have to look it up. Trout, Soler, and Joe Adell. Yeah, Josh Lowe is going to roam around there. He's going to look like Kelly Leak in that outfield.
Yeah, and his metrics aren't great, right? And they were down quite a bit in 2025. Keith Law's article is interesting because it doesn't say conditioning issue, but it's saying how he's getting himself in a much better position shape-wise and whatever, save the best shape of my life stuff. But yeah, I mean, he did kind of point to that multiple times in the article. So, because he's a good athlete, so maybe there's something there. But I would say, yeah, if he returns to the norms more, maybe an average defender out there. I get what you're saying, though. It's not a shiny outfield defensively. You got him, Trout, Joe Adell, and then maybe Jorge Soler getting some time out there. The way to fix the Angels, Trevor, is a new owner. It's the only way at this point. They have no plan. That's very clear. I've lost faith in anything going on there for a while now, and we act like it's the Rockies, like it's so tough to solve this. Like the Rockies actually have a real environment situation to figure out. The Angels don't. So I don't want to put them in the same category at all. There are difficulties to long-term success in Colorado. The Angels' plan for success is much more simple. They're just lost in space.
I mean, no one wants to go to SoCal, very obviously. So,
yeah, that's the problem. They can't recruit.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Art Moreno. He stumbled into a World Series the first year he owned the team, and then has not since. And I just did a big segment on May Day about the worst contracts in history, and they have 5 of the top 7. So it's just, and they've all been during Art's tenure there with Josh Hamilton and Pujols and Rendon. And I mean, to a little bit of extent, I mean, everyone loves Mike Trout, but the value is not matched the money right now. It just keeps happening. They traded for Vernon Wells when he at the bottom, right? So it's just what they do. He hears a name, and it's almost as if he's like, "Oh, I've heard that name before," and then he just says yes. And it's been that with honestly managers, and it's been that with GM. It's just got people have been around. He's heard the name before, and he's like, "That's a baseball person. Let's get him." And you can't just keep flip-flopping and not have a goal. You got to be baseball savvy. And it starts with him. And I'm not going to blame. I know everyone over there is doing. Everyone below that rung is doing everything they can to navigate this thing. And there's other teams that have similar problems where it's just what? At some point you run into a block, and it's usually the person who's been there the whole time. But at some point we gotta. Pitching is just got to be you got to win with pitching, and it's a place to go. Everyone wants to pitch. Go pitch in SoCal. It's nice all the time. You can always grip the ball. You know what the temperature is going to be almost to the degree every day because it's the same. That's a great place to go pitch. The ball doesn't necessarily fly like crazy. So it seems like something they just don't have like you mentioned, the obstacles of needing to convince people to go. Be like, hey, I know you like pitching, but you're going to give up more runs. But we'll give you money to compensate you for that. At least the Rockies have tried that a couple times. The Angels are just swinging missing left and right. And it is frustrating. Especially, I'm not an Angels fan, but I didn't follow them super closely. But you want to see it's peaks and valleys. You just can't be in a valley forever, and it gets frustrating. Someone who covers baseball just watching it, just when's your time coming back? 05 was a long. What was it? 03? 03 was a long. 02. Long time ago. All right, long. 13-year-old
been a minute.
Trevor's like, here we go. Come on.
Yeah, let's go, guys. I'm with you. And just for time purposes, I'll just say what Kratz texted me. Oh, they also forgot to trade Shohei Ohtani when they had 2 months left of him and could have gotten the world, including Jackson Merrill.
And that's an
Anyway.
ownership thing.
Yeah, I know.
I blacked
He
that
blocked
one
it.
out. Completely forgot about that. I think that's PTSD'd out of my head.
Jackson Merrill, I heard Jackson Holiday. Both of those guys were on for Shohei. And he ended up tearing his UCL or had reconstruction of his UCL and missed they could have traded him for that. Like for those guys, that's an ownership thing.
Yeah, it's painful. We have an Angel show for therapy if you want it, Halo territory, but we also have, since we were talking about the trade, Riverfront territory, which is our new Red show. It's about a month and a half old. It's got Danny Graves and C. Trent Rosecrans, who covers the team on a daily basis. It's FT Network coverage that you're looking for on a team by team. Yes, we've been hearing you. We've been launching shows left and right. And also, Danny will be at Reds Fest this weekend. It's our last chance to promo it. So I just wanted to throw it out there. 3 o'clock Eastern, poker tournament action. The tournament itself starts at 4, but there's a bar, drinks, food, the whole deal at the convention center in Cincinnati. And then 12 o'clock Eastern or local panel discussion at the BetMGM Sportsbook at the Banks over there. So go check it all out. We'll see you this weekend. Myself, Danny, and Todd Father. All right, one more move. Willi Castro, 2 years, about $13 million to the Colorado Rockies. And Kratz, there was a great joke online from someone who was like, really? The Rockies couldn't have a Willi Castro day? Come on. Dodgers, of course, steal their thunder like, we signed Kyle Tucker, so this is not going to get its own segment on FT. It's going to get a 1-minute mention, but good for Willi. I mean, he had a really good year 2 years ago, All-Star, and then this past season was much more of a down year. Guys that covered the Twins were like surprised that he got a 2-year deal, but good for him. And it takes a little extra sometimes for the recruiting trail right now for the Rockies, but a do-it-all guy that can set a good example, and whoever gets called up, he can just fill the next open spot.
Good for the Rockies. Good for the Rockies for doing a little extra. They spent money,
like
whether they had to do it, they wanted to do it, whatever. But good for the Rockies for going out and doing this. And it's definitely a buying low on a guy that coming into last season, after his All-Star season, you were like, this guy's taking the next step. Going to be the next, like, Ben Zobrist type of contract. Not saying that he is Ben Zobrist, but that guy that can play above average at a bunch of different positions. And you know what? He didn't have a good year. Rockies still saw value. They were willing to go, whether it was the extra years or a little extra in the contract. Good for Willi.
What are you saying, Trevor? They're done?
Yeah, I think they're fixed. Let's go. Bring it in.
Yep, that's it.
Willi Castro and give Michael Lorenzen a bat as well as the ball, and fixed. Now, you know what? You can say you want about the Rockies and Dick Monfort, the operating partner there, but like I don't think it's in question whether or not like he likes baseball and he really does want to be a good, like he wants his team to be good. I just think that like maybe there's a lack of creativity and a lack of spending money in places that you could develop your team better and understand and use use where you play as an advantage, because it stinks to play there, but 81 teams have to come to you, and 81 games other teams who aren't there all the time have to play there. So maybe you can separate yourself in that way. I mean, I just don't see that happening. But they went for Chris Bryant. That hasn't worked out, but they went for it. Like there's teams that just don't go for it at all, which is just like you can't. There's nothing will ever happen if you never go for it. So at least they do that. At least they do that, and at least they, Willi's going to go get a chance to recoup some of his value. He plays all over the field. He's a veteran guy. There's worse outcomes. It's no risk, and worst case scenario, or maybe he recoups some value and he gets to go continue to build up a case for a better contract in the future, which is good for him. So like, I like it. I understand where they're at, and like, how are you gonna go blow it out at this point when you won 40-something games last year? But incremental improvements, and hopefully though, I want to see the player development stuff get better. But who knows? They're hiring new people, so let's see if that coalesces well. And I will give them credit for making a move.
Yeah, baby steps. And you do have to add vets to set examples and also guys that you can potentially flip, right? It's definitely possible that Willi has a bounce back season and they trade him either this year or they have him for 2 years. So that could happen in 2027. Let's get to some rumors. The big fish, who might be a little more popular these days, Cody Bellinger. John Heyman reporting the Yankees are willing to add not one, but 2 opt-outs to Belly's contract offer. It would also include a big signing bonus and no deferrals in the contract. Trevor, the number we've been hearing for Bellinger is around $30 million per season. And it seems like the Yankees and Belly have been at an impasse because they only want to hand out 5 years. I'm trying to think also at who's leaking this out. Is it the Yankees because they want everyone to know how hard they're trying, or is it Belly's camp because they want to know, hey, this is what we're getting, last call? But it appears to be, right, if we're guessing based on all the reports getting conjured together, 5 years, about 30 a year, multiple opt-outs, and no deferrals, really solid signing bonus up front. I don't want to say take it or leave it, but the Yankees being like, is this what you would like? This is where we value you. Maybe another team swoops in like the Blue Jays.
I mean, oh my God, the Yankees are obsessed with him. Like they really, really want him. Hey, if I'm Yankees fans, at least you can't say they're not trying. Like you can't just give. You don't just go, hey, we gave him exactly the thing he asked for the first one. I get that. I think adding the opt-outs in is trying to shorten that deal. That's what you have to do now. There might be a third opt-out that needs to be in there because, again, if there's only 2 and it's in the back end, you still have the guaranteed. Maybe if there's one before each one, and then you can kick up the AAV a little bit, give him another chance. But again, he's a little bit older than, say, a Tucker, so maybe it's not as so interesting. Like he doesn't like that. Still is kind of taking him to where another contract isn't going to be very lucrative, and he wants that covered. What I think is really interesting is the signing bonus thing because that is going to help him avoid New York City taxes, which is very high, not as high as SoCal, but close. It's second highest. And that is significant. And then the no deferred money keeps that value up or at the number that he wants. So those are big concessions. And that's oftentimes enough to shake loose this fixation with 7 years. But it sounds like security is so important to him. And if you can, that's why the opt-outs might fall on deaf ears. He's like, I want a place where I don't even have to think about opting out, like because I've just committed to this is it till into the sunset or close to. And it's like to be stubborn and stick with that long-term deal as hard as he seemingly is. Security sounds like the thing he wants the most, but maybe those other 2 things, the signing bonus, the non-deferred money, like getting all the money up front, there is a certain level of security comes along with that. We'll see if that's enough to get it over the line. If it's enough to satisfy that feeling, and I guess we'll have to see. But very minimum. I mean, if they're leaking it, they're putting it out there. You can't really like they're going for it. Like they're going for it. They really want him. They keep going back. They keep adjusting. They keep getting creative. And there is, at least a little bit. If you're a Yankees fan, a little bit of appreciation, or there should be. For the attempt, but at the end of the day, if you don't get them, it doesn't matter.
I mean, I feel like they have to get them. Obviously, you can never operate like that. If you're the Yankees, you're any other team. Man, I mean, there's a lot going on. The Red Sox are missing out on Bregman. They go and get Ranger. They traded for Sonny Gray. They have young prospects coming up. Maybe the Red Sox haven't done enough yet. Boom, they get Ranger. After their pivot, okay? The Blue Jays have been doing what they're doing. The Orioles are still lurking and working, and they've made some incredible moves with Pete Alonso. They had upgrades. Do the Yankees have to get it? And that's where Cody's like, I know you have to get me. I want to go back there. This is like both of us. We want this. And it feels like the Yankees are going, here's your contract. I forget what it was. It was a cartoon, and it was like, here's what I'll give you. And they're like, I don't know. And then they're like, okay, we have this and we have one of these. Okay, that's great. But here, hang on. Okay, so we have the contract, we have this, and we have that. And they're like, let's this is it. This is what we got. Contract this, that, and we got all of these things. And Cody's like, I didn't ask for all that. I asked for 7 years. That's what I want. Maybe a little less annual value, but I want 7 years to take me to 37. I don't think Cody wants to go back out on the market at 35 or after his age 35 season. Like, I think they're at an impasse, and I don't know exactly how the negotiations go. Like, how many times have they gone back to each other? And I think he wants 7, they want 5. My guess, they settle on 6. Cody Bellinger plays till he's 36 there, and they get their man, and they make a few other moves and one big starting pitcher splash.
Yankees might say, all right, 6 years, but we're going to lower the average annual value a little bit.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think they will. I think that's the play. And Yankee fans will be like, well, when have they ever done that? Sorry, it was DJ LeMahieu. But LeMahieu wanted to come back. I think Cody wants to come back. I think LeMahieu got 6 years, 90. I think he had at the time like 4 years, 79. I forget what the number was from someone else. And they were like, well, we'll give you a little bit more money, 11 million more, but we got to spread that out a long ways. And he's like, cool, let's do it. And so I think that's where Cody's at.
Yeah, that might have a little deferral action to it so that it's a little bit more money, but not a ton more money. But you get that 6th year if he's truly craving that. Or you just take the 5 and say, wow, they really like me, like Trevor said. And they gave me all kinds of goodies, like a signing bonus to get some cash up front. But we'll see. I mean, it seems to be the one, I don't want to say sure thing, but it's definitely a perfect fit for both sides, or at least it appears that way. Maybe a team swoops in and surprises us. It's not like we haven't seen that since this morning. Bichette and the Mets. Yes. Anyway, we're going to talk more about this. What? Who? The Mets had to do it?
No. Well, yeah, the Mets had to do it. The Yankees have to do it. Is there a have to do it more out on the market right now besides maybe starting pitching for the Orioles or the Mets? Like, to me, this is the most they have to do it. They have to go. There's no more Bichette, pivot to Bichette and then put Jason Dominguez in the outfield and Trent Grisham plays every day. And you find a place for, you put Jazz in left and then Jason sits or whatever. Like, I don't think is there a pivot for the Yankees? Maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but I don't see the pivot right now.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Not at that extent. So anyway, Trevor is going to talk more about all of the craziness that has gone down in the past 24 hours. So we're going to let him jump. Trevor, we'll see you on May Day on your YouTube channel, the Trevor May YouTube channel. Thank you, bud.
Thank you. See you guys soon.
Yes, good work today. May Day, check it out. Twice a week now, Wednesdays and Fridays, 3 o'clock East Coast time, 12 o'clock Pacific. Trevor will be laying it out on what's going on in free agency. And if you're watching us right now and you're like, wait, they're going to end it soon? Yes. We started a little early, so we're already 2 hours into our expedition, so let's slap. And then there were 2, Kratz and me. Kind of talked about Kratz Hatz already, but you could still throw it out there and maybe do a double.
For anybody who wasn't, because now we have 5,000 people watching, don't forget to hit the subscribe and like button. Subscribe doesn't actually cost you a subscription, so it's totally free. Hit the button, get us to 300,000. Today's winners. Probably I think it's the first day I've ever worn 2 hats on one show. The Mets and the Dodgers. Will they meet up? Will the moves that they made today have them clashing in the National League Championship game this year? Some will think yes, some will think no. Great day for both organizations. But who actually won the day? That's the question. I'll let you guys figure out.
National League Championship Series remake, Dodgers Mets, remember, 2024. I'm not sure. More pitching decisions that need to be made, I think, on the Mets side, but we shall see. Winter Meetings Week virtually continues on FT. Hopefully, they take a break this weekend. I'll be in Cincinnati with Todd and Danny. I'll try and do my best to outlast them in poker tomorrow in the big tournament at the convention center, all for a good cause. And then next week, we're back at it and we'll cover more trades and signings. AJ back with us. We do have a show on Monday, so we'll be live Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Thanks for the team behind the scenes working extra hard, including last night for the breaking news show, which was awesome and included Jim Bowden and Ken Rosenthal with more on the Kyle Tucker news, which is still very relevant. Have a nice weekend, everyone.